This is Plant-Based Briefing. Plant-based diets could save millions of lives and trillions of dollars a year by Michael Greger, MD at nutritionfacts.org. And I'm Marian Erickson, host of this curated content plant-based podcast, where I narrate a variety of articles on plant-based and vegan living with permission in about 10 minutes or less every week. It used to be every weekday. For the past 5 years, I've loved bringing you daily narrations, but I've decided it's time to evolve the show. So starting next week, I'm moving from a daily schedule to a dedicated weekly release every Tuesday morning. I know many of you have mentioned it's hard to keep up with 5 episodes a week, so this change is also about making sure you never feel behind. And it's about me having time to actually do this and not burn out. It's been a lot of work. It takes me about 10 hours a week to produce the 5 episodes. So on top of other life commitments and my new full-time job again, it's just been a little too much, but I don't want to give up on the animals. I want to continue to do this to bring information to people to help them with their vegan lifestyle, whether they come to it from nutrition like I did, from the environmental side, of course, for justice for the animals. But whatever way you get here, I want to share information to help inspire you to stay the course with this lifestyle. The injustices humans do to animals by the trillions every year, it's mind-blowing. And I understand it's ingrained culturally. There are so many reasons behind it. But hopefully by listening to this podcast once a week going forward, it can inspire you to stay the course, especially if you've come to it from nutrition, if you've come to it from caring about antibiotic resistance or the environment. When you know about the animals, you just can't go back. So I'm going to sprinkle in articles about the animals, of course, but continue to touch on the various aspects of a compassionate, healthy vegan lifestyle. So instead of your daily dose of inspiration, I'll bring you your weekly dose of inspiration, and hopefully you can share the podcast and encourage others to listen as well. And hopefully I may even have time to spend on social media communicating with listeners and promoting the episodes. That would be amazing. So I hope you'll stick with me as I switch to weekly episodes and share the podcast, spread the word, help others to listen. And for now, let's get to today's plant-based briefing. Plant-based diets could save millions of lives and trillions of dollars a year by Michael Greger, MD at nutritionfacts.org. How many lives would be saved if everyone ate vegetarian or vegan? Based on a meta-analysis of studies following millions of people and their diets for years, better adherence to more plant-based diets, especially ones emphasizing healthy plant foods, is beneficial for lowering the risks of major chronic conditions including type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and cancer, as well as premature deaths in general. Moving to diets with fewer animal-sourced foods could end up saving the lives of millions of people every year, in addition to saving trillions of dollars. Here's how many lives would be saved by a healthy global diet, which is like more of a Mediterranean, cut down on red meat and sugar and eat lots of fruits and vegetables diet, versus a vegetarian diet versus a vegan diet. We're talking major health benefits eating fewer animal-sourced foods. Healthier diets could save 5 million lives a year. If the world went vegetarian, we'd save 7 million lives a year. And if the world started eating vegan, we might save 8 million lives per year. So the question is less what to do and more how to do it. In other words, the main problem is the implementation gap, which is likely a result of things like inertia, individual addictions, commercial interests, and economic issues. For example, why did the World Health Organization pull support from a global initiative promoting more plant-based foods? Yeah, eating that way may save millions of lives, but a global move to such a diet could lead to the loss of millions of jobs linked to animal agriculture. The total or nearly total elimination of foods of animal origin would destroy cattle farming and many other activities related to the production of meat and dairy products. The initiative urging for a centralized control of our dietary choices risked the total elimination of consumers' freedom of choice. And that was the reaction to just recommending people try eating more plant-based. And hey, that's just meat and dairy. Think of how many jobs in the candy and liquor industries would be lost if people all of a sudden decided to eat and drink healthier. It could have drastic consequences. There's a reason that soda companies sponsor major health organizations. Over a 5-year period, researchers found that the Coca-Cola Company and PepsiCo sponsored a total of 96 national health organizations in the United States, including many medical and public health institutions whose specific missions include fighting the obesity epidemic. The American Academy of Family Physicians took their money, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the AMA, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the Society for Nutrition Educators. Maybe the soda companies genuinely care about the public's health? Hardly. During the same study period, those same two corporations lobbied against 29 public health bills intended to reduce soda consumption or improve nutrition. Although national food guidelines are designed ostensibly to translate scientific evidence with respect to food, dietary patterns, and health, their development has increasingly become a corporate and political process as much as a scientific one, often with corporate and political influences overriding the science. As I detailed before, this goes back all the way to the first edition of the American Food Goals, which started out strongly recommending decreasing our intake of meat, dairy, and eggs to reduce saturated fat, as well as reducing salt and sugar intake. However, lobbyists reacted vehemently and succeeded in having the wording in the report changed to increase the consumption of lean meat. Thus, the year in which protecting public health in the United States became secondary to protecting corporate health and wealth was 1977. Now, nearly 50 years later, the effort of the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee is recognized for all the work they do. But despite these achievements, some key recommendations in the current guidelines do not reflect the best available evidence that strongly support shifting toward lower consumption of animal protein sources and higher intakes of healthy plant sources. But it's such a politically hot-button issue that even when it comes to the worst of the worst, processed meats like bacon, ham, hot dogs, lunch meat, and sausage, known to cause cancer in human beings, yet all we have are provisos to consume these carcinogenic foods in moderation. Given that there may be no safe limit for alcohol consumption, the Canadian guidelines advise no more than 1 to 2 drinks a week. Its dietary guidelines were updated to emphasize the importance of consuming more plant-based products, and even removed dairy as its own food group. How are the Canadians so free to be able to better follow the evidence? They decided to remove industry-funded studies from their consideration. What a concept! If we were going to try to stick to the best science, the eating pattern that is healthiest for humans, the one that best reduces the risk of our leading killers, would be a diet centered around whole plant foods. The reason we don't see this in National Food Guide recommendations can be explained by factors other than science, specifically corporate interests reflected in heavily government-subsidized animal-sourced products and the political might of the ultra-processed food industry. A whole food, plant-based diet might be considered the dietary gold standard against which other dietary patterns could be compared, if for no other reason than it's the only diet that has been shown to reliably reverse the progression of coronary atherosclerosis, the #1 killer of men and women. What else do we need? So, if we wanted an unbiased, evidence-based, universal food guide, it might look a little something like the Daily Dozen. So you can use the free Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen app as a reminder to fit some of the healthiest of healthy foods into your daily routine. You just listened to Plant-Based Diets Could Save Millions of Lives and Trillions of Dollars a Year by Michael Greger, MD at nutritionfacts.org. And I'm your host, Marian Erickson. And for those who don't know nutritionfacts.org or Dr. Michael Greger, they are a nonprofit organization, and they summarize the latest in peer-reviewed nutrition and health research with no conflicts of interest. There are no ads, no corporate sponsorships, and 100% of all proceeds he has ever received from his books, DVDs, and speaking engagements have always and will always be donated to charity. He's not trying to sell you things to make a buck. He's trying to get the truth, the science out there. There is a lot of confusing and conflicting nutritional advice out there, usually presented by people with a financial interest, so you can trust what's coming from nutritionfacts.org. And please remember, the first new Tuesday weekly episode drops next week, Tuesday, January 13th. So make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on so you don't miss it. And thank you for being a part of this journey. I can't wait to continue sharing these amazing articles with you, and see you next Tuesday.